Okay. I think that's been said. Let's move to the other, the third topic. Um, Salihu, I don't know. We all know Salihu. I don't know him that well. I just read it on the news. I don't know who he was until I read this, and I just felt okay. We should talk about it. He is APC chieftain. He just resigned from APC, and I wonder when I heard that I read the news, and look, somebody that is vice chairman of the ruling party, and not just vice chairman, but vice chairman of a very powerful zone. And when it comes to election, which is northwest zone, that person must be a very powerful person. Yet he resigned, and I was wondering, why did he resign? This is the time. This is their government. He should be beneficiary of the Bola Tinubu's corrupt governance. So why did he or whatever? So that was one question that came to mind, and I asked myself again, what could be the reason behind his resignation? And that is why that brings me to both of you. Let's start with Barrister Manta. What do you first? Why did this man resign? What do you think? The news will always give us something different from what truly is the situation. A sort of, what do you think? We've read the report, but what do you think made this man resign, and why now? That is, then after that, what is the implication? A man that is as powerful as that resigning from the ruling party, what is the implication? What is the implication to Bola Tinubu's ambition in 2027?
Yes, thank you very much. I have been following the career of Lukman for some time, since he was Director General of the Progressive Governors Forum, and subsequently the National Vice Chairman of APC for Northwest. I don't have any sympathy for him. His late, how do I put it? His late vituperations do not appeal to me in any way, because he has been part of whatever problem the APC has created for Nigeria since the time of Buhari's government. For him to come out and be making those kind of statements like the APC always rigs election, he has been there. He never saw any reason to condemn, depart from, or leave until now. What I suspect, and there's reasonable ground for his current action, is that in the north here, a movement has started as coalition around a Rufai, pointing towards 2027 to fight Tinubu. And he is a close ally of Rufai. Lukman is a close ally of Rufai. So I'm beginning to see, and when you listen to him, he said he's going to start mobilization against Tinubu and against Governor of Kaduna State, Obasani, towards making sure that they are removed in 2027. So you can read in between the lines that they are coalition around Rufai for the battle that is going to come ahead. Probably within their cycle, he has assumed or has been given a position that has made it incongruous for him to remain as National Vice Chairman of APC.
A position better than a position from a ruling government?
Within the like I told you, they are coalition around a Rufai to a movement is building around El-Rufai to fight Tinubu in 2027. And he is a close ally of El-Rufai. So I am just speculating that probably there is a position in that movement that is very critical, that he has been promised or given, that is incongruous with him, incompatible with him continuing as national vice chairman of APC. And secondly, you know very well that politicians just do for appointment, just do for juicy patronage. He has been sidelined.
That makes sense, more sense to me.
He has been sidelined in that regard. So the incentive to him, for him to remain as the national vice chairman of APC is not there. If they are building something there to use it to fight the same APC. So this is my understanding of the situation. And you know, there is speculation that any moment now, Ganduje will also on his own leave the post of national vice chairman. He, Lukman, would have aspired, but I'm sure he felt that he stands no chance at that level, because the national chairman will be selected by Tinubu, by the president. And of course, he does not stand any chance with the president for that kind of position. So he has seen his position become more and more untenable, and thus he has to throw in the towel.
So what do you think is the implication on Bola Tinubu's ambition in 2027?
It's too early to say with a measurable confidence what the impact will be. But I do not see either himself or El-Rufai being a sufficient threat to Tinubu in 2027. The man is, if you look at Tinubu's trajectory, even if you quarrel with him today, if tomorrow you come and say you have you no longer want to quarrel, you want to come back to him, he will look for a position and give you. Because the lesser enemies he has, for him, the better. So he has brought in so many people, and he's trying to settle them by appointment, by contracts, by whatever other means he can settle them. So he's building such a powerful force that is going to be very difficult, financial-wise, group-wise, political base-wise, to successfully attack and overthrow him in 2027. But politics is a certain game that one cannot predict with exactitude. So let us wait and see as things develop, then we can predict as things go on.
All right, Mr. Onibio.
Yes, it's commonplace for people to resign from their positions for reasons best known to them. We have seen a situation where the chairman of the party itself, APC, was changed over time, and people were saying, "Oh, this is the end of the party, and the party will never rise again," and all that. But we saw how they were able to manage their internal crisis, and even though they rigged, were able to galvanize themselves and, of course, their supporters to their side to win election. I don't see this man's resignation as a threat, as it were. People go and people come. Barack would always remain the same. Now, this is politics. There's always somebody waiting in the wings to fill in the position and, of course, continue from where he has stopped. And talking about 2027, it's a bit too early to talk about 2027 now. Why? Because politics itself will not kick off until politics towards 2027 will not kick off officially until probably sometime late next year, when you would see that some of these things that we're complaining about will be turned around, sort of, to and draw Nigerians close and say, oh, this government is actually thinking about you and is doing one or two things. And then we can begin to talk about what will happen, or probably project what will happen in 2027. As it were, nobody is an enemy now, nobody is an enemy forever. There's always a way that it will pan out, I'm sure. And I can tell you confidently here, like the barrister said, whatever it is that, for whatever form of coalition that El-Rufai is trying to form, is going to be a bit difficult for him to have a base with somebody who is rooted in politics, like Tinubu. Tinubu knows this game and he knows how to do his manipulations. It's going to be very difficult for anybody to upstage him, of course, except by divine intervention and, of course, determination by the people. If the people are determined and they come together and say, okay, look, we need to remove this man there, and, of course, have him replaced, and then probably we may say this kind of resignations.
What is your determination? What is your definition of determination? What do you expect from a determined people?
A determined people would. I was an advocate of a coalition of all political parties pre-2023 election, where we don't divide our votes but put it in one basket. I keep saying to people whenever I address them that let us win this battle before we share the spoils. If you don't win the battle before sharing the spoils, at the end of the day, we're still going to fall back into the hands of these people that we're trying to win over. Then at the end of the day, we have a scattered house like we have now. And you can see what is happening to other political parties, how they've been dismantled internally, externally, how they've been dismantled spiritually, financially. You can see that some of you can't even tell where some people belong these days, especially when they're given position. For example, you can see what Wike is doing because he couldn't get the position that is so wanted in the PDP. He has refused to leave the party, and he's causing the party a lot of problems, and at the same time working for the opposition. So if I believe that if the people are determined to come together and say, look, we for the projection that for the kind of picture of the future we have, we want the person of somebody like Peter Obi, for instance, supported by XYZ person, to lead us into that promised land. And we come together and agree that we have a common enemy and a common problem. With determination, I'm sure people will be able to, whatever kind of scheme that the INEC will want to bring. What
makes you think that we will not have a repeat of 2023 election? Where INEC soft power and did what they did.
INEC is going to forever do whatever it is that is doing now. Whoever is appointed, even if you remove Yakubu and you bring somebody else there, they will come with instruction manual.
So that's the point. That is the point. That is why I asked you, what is your definition of a determined people? Because a determined people,
I just gave you a definition.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I just gave you a definition. Yeah. Now, if you listen to what the barrister said, he said if a coalition they are forming a coalition, and he mentioned a certain individual who is already the person we're talking about here who resigned, who is the APC I think vice chairman representing a particular region, just resigned, and they're forming a coalition. Okay, so if you have a determined people who say, look, this kind of government that we have, even though the person belongs to our political party, is not the kind of government that we envisage for Nigeria, and this is the projection that we have, and they talk to themselves. Do you think it is impossible to remove the government? People have been saying it in the north here, that this government is a one-term government, and the people who are saying this are not just people who are the ordinary people on the streets. There are people who know politics, who are deep-rooted in politics. And if you joke with them, I'm talking about the people from the north now. If you joke with them, you whatever your chances are, you're jeopardizing it.
Yeah.
Whatever schemes that you're planning.
Honestly,
there are people.
Mr. Olivio, hold on, Mr. Olivio. Honestly, you just made me laugh. You made me laugh because we all know what happened. We all knew what happened in 2023. Now, Bola Tinubu was able to do what he did outside government. When he did what he did, he bulldozed himself to power when he had no paraphernalia of government at his speech.
No, I disagree.
No, but hold on.
I disagree.
No, there is difference. No, hold on. Let me tell you one thing. Even though Buhari was on his side, let me tell you one thing. Now, if you're talking about Tinubu not having power, yeah,
some of those governments are on his payroll. Some of the people that you see now, we're on his payroll.
Good.
It's politics.
Now hold on. Hold on. That is where I'm coming. That is where I'm actually driving. What I'm actually driving at. Now,
okay.
The man that he was not the president, he was not in power, yet he exuded that much power and authority and bulldozed himself to become the president. How much more now that he doesn't have anybody to induce with cash? Sorry, everybody works right now at his beck and call. Everybody works under his authority, direct authority. Whether it's either you walk as I command you, or I send you, I show you the way out. Now all the paraphernalia of government is under his authority. So now how do you think if we could not achieve it in 2023 when he was not the president, how do you think, what makes you think that we can achieve it as determined people? Because remember, 2023, that your determination you just defined was actually prevalent in 2023 election. We exhibited it, we manifested it, we showed it practically. We were determined to change our destiny. We did it, but it didn't work. It didn't work because of the powers that be. Just the same power and authority this man exuded. He will still do the same thing. What makes you think he cannot do it as president?
Okay, I'm going to ask you a direct question. I'm going to return your question for a question.
Go ahead.
How did Buhari and APC do what they did in 2015, despite the fact that Goodluck Jonathan wielded so much powers? How did they do it? How did they take government from him?
Yeah, that of Buhari, let me tell you one thing. That of Buhari, he succeeded on one platform, and that platform was the determination of the people. Now that was one.
Beautiful.
Now listen.
Beautiful.
Now listen. The determination of the people. Now, and secondly, during that Buhari time, there was no much inducement. Buhari was not that type of person. It was the Buhari, the Tinubus, and other people under.
No, I don't agree with you.
Really, listen.
If you follow the politics maybe Barrister will be able to explain it better.
No, but hold on.
Follow the politics. If you follow the politics in the north.
Hold on.
If you follow the politics in the north before the emergence of Buhari, you would understand that there is no way. Okay.
No, I've not finished answering your question. Now.
Okay.
During Buhari time, it was done out of one major factor. That one major factor is based on people were really, really tired. They really needed that change. They really needed that change. Then the second one, even though I said it was one, the second one was the North just felt, Buhari, you know that time, Buhari was, everybody viewed him. Even now, after the presidency, it was confirmed that this man is just a bigot, that was the second factor as well. Now, it succeeded because there was the country was just done, including the powers that be. The powers that be felt the need, especially in the North, they felt the need to actually swing power to the back, to bring power back to the North. So they did not, there was inducement, financial inducement, but it's not as massive, it wasn't as massive as we had in 2023 election. That Bola, it was about money.
I don't agree.
Now, secondly, okay,
I don't agree.
Now, in the case of in 2027,
yes,
Tinubu will deploy massively these two angles. He will deploy the power of government. He will deploy the power of money. And that is the point. And that was one. And the power of government means you know how to, you as a journalist, you know better. You know better than me how Tinubu operates when he has power. You know that he's going to use including force to quell any form of opposition. In fact, that man will be ruthless. Regrettably, I hate to say this, but honestly, Bola Tinubu will be ruthless in 20. If God keeps him alive, he will be ruthless in 2027. Ruthless in a way that we have never seen. Please make your point.
Let me give my perspective.
No, hold on. Let him finish. He wanted to make a point. Please, Barrister, hold on. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, you see, you keep talking about ruthlessness. You keep talking about using people and everything, but you're leaving out the determination of the people, like you mentioned, and it happened in 2015. People underestimate the power of the people who think in the same direction, who are pursuing survival. If you know the North well, like I do, I'm sure Barrister will also be able to explain to you better on that too. There is no way that this government will be constituted that they will be satisfied. Why? Whoever is the president is not from their region. And as long as whoever is the president is not from their region, there is no way you are going to do any form of bargain. Of course, except probably you're going to replace your VP, which may not go down with them. They always want to be number one. If they are not number one, it's going to be very difficult for you to buy them over. Or moreover, if they present a candidate, all of these things that we're saying here is speculation. Nobody is sure of tomorrow, okay? So I am saying that if they present a candidate in 2027, the dynamics will change. Regardless of who you think you know, regardless of the people you think would help manipulate and all of that, they would also have their own schemes. So as he is scheming, they would also scheme. It may even surprise you that in 2027, probably when he notices the kind of opposition that is coming, he may not even run in the elections. You'll be so shocked that he may not run.
It's possible.
Yes, because the actual aim has been to be president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and he is president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, even if it is short. So what we are saying here is for 2027 that we can't even see. Let us wait until 2027 and see how this coalition will come together. I have been hearing people talking about coming together and forming a single force to come against him in 2027. How that is going to be done, nobody knows yet. Nobody believed that a person of Jega will be able to manipulate the election in favor of the APC in 2015. Because you were saying something about Buhari not influencing a lot of things. He influenced a lot of things. If you listen to his interviews prior to the 2015 elections, he made threats. He made threats, and people were making threats in his name. And of course, people were buying over. The presidential candidate of the PDP supported him then, and he said that if they're not going to let power come into their region, they're going to make government impossible for the person who is going to remain there. So either you look at it as negative positivity or positive determination. They had a plan and they saw it through. So that's what I'm saying. If these people are determined to wrestle power from him, regardless of whatever he's going to do, yes, he's going to manipulate, yes, he's going to plant people there, yes, he's going to buy people. There are people who would have dissenting views and look at it like, look, we are not the one in government. If we have somebody in government, probably we will do better. Do you understand what I'm saying? We would have better opportunities than we have now. And of course, want to wrestle power. Everybody wants to be number one. Nobody wants to be number two. Nobody wants to be number two because they're not sure of anything. But of course, if you're number one, you determine a lot of things. The manipulation will be there. The destruction of political parties will be there, because that is even the angle that I was thinking you would talk through. What I think you would want to do is ensure that some of these political parties are not strong enough to come together to form an opposition against him in 2027. That's what I foresee. But if he does that,
politicians exploit that is also on the table. Anyway, anyway, thank you, Barrister. Can you
let Barrister?
Yeah, time is not our friend right now. Go ahead, Barrister.
My perspective on 2015 and then on 2027.
Yeah.
In 2015, if you recall, you have to relate it back to 1999, where a compromise was reached that a Southerner should become president by virtue of what happened on June 12th. And Obasanjo was brought out of prison and given, basically, by northern forces who believed that Obasanjo could be manipulated. He will just be there as a stooge for them. Now, when Obasanjo came to power, they suddenly realized that they could not use him in the way they wanted to use him. They started yearning for the power to come back. Obasanjo did 8 years, and they handed over to Yaradua. Yaradua was sick, and a lot of people in the North blamed Obasanjo. They believe Obasanjo deliberately handed power to him so that he could die, and then the power would go back to the South. So the movement for power to come back to the North took speed from that time. While Jonathan was there, there was a compromise again reached with the Northern power brokers that he will do 1 term of 4 years and go so that power will come back to the North. Unfortunately, after 4 years, after doing 2 years of Yaradua's tenure and then 4 years of his own, he wanted to do another 4 years, making unbroken 10 years for himself and 8 years for Obasanjo. And both of these candidates were Christians. So from the power brokers in the North, it became a matter of life or death for power to return to the North. Many people do not understand that well before 2015, Northern forces had already put in place the machinery to take power. They got former President Clinton to send his PR team 2 years before 2015. The PR team of President Clinton were in Nigeria. And if you go back and notice, there was an explosion on social media of political interest and comments from 2013 up to this thing. That is the first time that massive comments on social media political comments came in. This was the handwork of the PR team of the former president of the United States working in favor of the Northern forces. Secondly, Buhari came with a cult following. He was a godlike person to the North. He had been turning up about 12 million votes in past elections, but he could not make him to win. Those votes were virtually intact. So when there was a merger, he was the dominant person. There couldn't be much disagreement in the merger because he was the dominant person that would be put forward as the candidate. And he had that overwhelming backing from the North. All what he needed was some sections of the country to come on board, as against the past where all his 12 million only used to come from the North. So he now got Tinubu with his machinery to come into alliance with him. That is what helped to clinch his court life following the US intervention in Nigeria in the politics. And finally, Jonathan had all the powers, but he did not know how to deploy the powers. He did not know how to use the powers the vast powers that were available to him. And he was not somebody who wanted to stand and face the challenge. He was ready to give up at the slight opportunity. So these 3 factors came together to make the election of 2015 more or less a walkover in favor of Buhari. Now, coming to 2027, there are a lot of things that even Mr. Onubi, you journalists did not highlight. 2014, Tinubu came to the Northwest and met the Islamic leaders of the Northwest. Some few newspapers carried it, of his ambition to become president. And they told him, if you become the presidential candidate, one condition we'll give you is that you must, under no circumstance will we accept a Northern Christian as a vice president to you. Do you accept that? He agreed. That was under the radar. Journalists, most of them did not understand the import of that.
Honestly, I'm this one. What you just said now is a news to me. Let me be frank with you. I've not had this before.
I read it that time, and I was surprised that it was not. It was just kept under the radar.
Wow.
I thought it will become a national discourse, but it didn't.
No, sorry, barrister. It was not under the radar. We all know who championed it. It was the former governor of Kaduna State, and he came out in public and said, "This is the way forward." He championed it. He did it in.
No.
You
Don't
get me wrong.
Understand. He said that
way
was
before the nomination in 2015.
Correct.
I'm talking about end of 2013 to 2014.
Yes.
When Tinubu he came to the Northwest, met Islamic leaders, and this was the agreement they reached. People were talking about when he got the nomination and nominated
the 2015,
Shetima, without knowing what had happened before. Why that nomination was necessary, why he could not pick a Northern Christian as his running mate. He had way before, more than a year and a half, met the Islamic leaders. And they said, if we give you support, you have to promise us that your vice president will not be a Northern Christian.
Yeah, this is news to me, honestly.
We will not accept that.
No, but it is no news. It is no news.
Hold on.
El-Rufai champion.
No, Onibio, hold on, barrister, hold on.
I'm building up to something.
Mr. Onibio, hold on, barrister, hold on, please. Mr. Onibio, you seem not to be following him. This agreement he's talking about was done during the merger of ACN, CPC, and part of PDP, the new PDP, right? During that
exactly.
2014 or whatever, that merger, that was when they made this agreement. I remember then, Bola Tinubu had the interest to become the vice president, to be the vice to Buhari, but he was, I don't know what happened. I think they said Buhari rejected that. I think that was when this agreement, that is what Barrister Samantha is saying. That was when this agreement was reached. Okay, we will give you this nomination. Go ahead, Barrister.
Well, before the nomination actually happened.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the background maneuvering that happened. So
this part of this, what Barrister Samantha is saying, is a news to me. And trust me, if this thing had been public, I would have read it. Honestly. So this is news.
I read it. I read it. I read it. And I was surprised that it didn't make national news. That's why I'm telling Onubio that they are journalists. But they didn't highlight this meeting that Tinubu had with Northern leaders then.
That's their failure.
There were other aspects of the meeting as well. Because when they reached the agreement on VP, they asked him about how he was going to deal with the other regions, the Southeast and Southwest. He said, leave the Southwest for me. They asked him about the Southeast. He said, even without, he had made his calculations and he could win successfully without the vote from the Southeast. So all he wanted is for them to assure him of box votes from here and leave the Southwest for him. And he will get a vote from a few middle belt states and he will be home. So he was telling them that I have sat down, analyzed the voting pattern, the geopolitical pattern of voting. If I get these votes and I get from the Southwest, I'll be able to get from some middle belt and I'll be home. That was the agreement they reached. Coming to 2027, assuming for the sake of argument that the Northwest now want to take the presidency away from him. Remember, there are sentiments in Nigeria that when a region is ruling, it will rule for 8 years. Yes. So it is the turn of the South now. Tinubu will rule for 4 years and 8 years, or somebody from the South will rule for 8 years. Any attempt by the North to bring a candidate in 2027 will run against that sentiment throughout the South, and by extension, the Middle Belt. And I can tell you, write it down. I have checked the political, demographics of Nigeria. If you get the vote of the Southwest, Southeast, and Middle Belt in the North, you have won. Yeah. Irrespective of whether you don't get from the Northeast and the Northwest, you still win. Tinubu is a smart political calculator. He knows where, if you gather votes, already now we are hearing from people in the Middle Belt, in the Southeast, South, that if these people want to take away the presidency from the South in 2027, they will all come behind Tinubu to ensure that the South finish 8 years. These are the calculations that feed Nigerian politics. So anybody that is conniving in the North, that's why I said they can do it, but at the end of the day, they may not be able to overthrow him, even if the election is done. Forget it that
I agree with you on that, honestly.
He will have INEC, he can have all the levels of power, and he knows how to use it, unlike Jonathan that did not know how to deploy the power of the presidency.
Yeah.
He has the financial wherewithal to deliver the presidency. He has the levels of power to deliver the presidency. He has the smartness to know where to gather the votes, and he has the ability to compensate across the board. So it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, honestly, honestly, I think I agree with you. I'm on your side on this, sort of, because my own is regrettably, we are on this side not because we were. In fact, it's a nightmare for us to have someone like Tinubu ruling us, and especially when we still see him as someone who may rule us in the next 7 years more, sort of. So it's a it's a nightmare, honestly. However, my point is this, that if he could do it, now coming to what Onibio was talking about, determination. Honestly, I wish this is something I've always advocated for. Determination. This is the bane. This is one of the banes of Nigeria's situation, honestly. That determination, that is what we have always lacked. And we kind of exhibited it in 2023, but we did not exhibit it to the core. And that is why we are stuck with Bola Tinubu. And that same determination, that same mentality is still there. The same mentality you really detailed earlier. That mentality of selfishness. Nobody wants to go out and do this. The moment somebody does something happens, everybody withdraws from him or her or whatever. That selfish mentality is still there. It was there in 2023. It was there in the past, before 2023. It was there in 2023. It is still, except that mentality is taken away. That is when the real definition of determination will come to play. Honestly, that mentality is still there. So that definition of that determination it's a haphazard determination, because determination that we cannot pull through is no longer. I don't consider that determination. So as long as we have that lacking, Tinubu will everything that all the analysis, all the indices that Barrister Manta just pointed out will actually give Tinubu coast to power. That's just it, to remain in power. That is just so. And unfortunately, I don't see that yet. Nigerians are so indifferent with protests and opposition. Nigerians are just anything, as long as they get their daily bread, they don't care. They don't care. That's the unfortunate thing. And I think that being said, we have to move. My God, I can't believe that we're spending this much time on this show today. Okay. I think that is it. Let's